Well, thanks everyone for coming to our monthly Vectorworks virtual meeting. I hope everybody's doing well. And just as a reminder, we actually am recording this, so there'll be a cloud copy available if you miss part of it, or you need to refer back to it. And I have a limited amount of space, so it won't be up forever, but it'll be up for a while. So anyway, just let me know if you need a link to that after the presentation. Today we are talking about data tags, which are a relatively new feature in Vectorworks, introduced 1 or 2 versions ago and improved with later versions. And I'm going to start with a fairly standard out-of-the-box case of data tags, and then we'll start working through showing you some different applications of data tags that are slightly more customized and with some interesting possibilities. And then I've got 3 or 4 different sort of sample files to show you, one of which is a project file by Limbacher and Godfrey. So I know Al's in a meeting right now, but he's going to jump in and will help me out with that file a little bit later on. So first of all, I guess I should probably talk about what data tags are, right? So in previous versions of Vectorworks, if you wanted to have an ID tag for your door, for example, let's go over to that door and look at it in the object info palette. Let me hide you all there. All right, there we go. So if you wanted to see a door keyed in on the plan, what you would typically do is you would go ahead and show the tag in 2D. Now this is a door style that disallows that, so I'll just go ahead and change this to an unstyled door for the moment. There we go. And so then I'll show the tag in 2D, and there it is. We're in a rotated plan view right now. That's why the 1 is being a little lazy and kind of laying on its side, taking a snooze. But that's what you had to do, and that was fine. The problem with that is that when you go to your annotations, right? Let's say you've got a dimension string, which in this case we don't because it's a door in an existing opening. Let's say we have a dimension string that is running around here, or a note. Then there was no way to edit that. You can see that it's highlighting and it's pre-selecting inside the annotation space of a plan viewport. If that's not clear, I can't click on this thing and move it around. And so when I'm annotating, I'm just going back and forth, and between my design layer, where this thing resides because it is attached to the door, and the annotation space for my plan view, right? So that was sort of a bit of a limitation of keying in doors and windows. Bill, did you have a question?
Oh.
Okay. So what data tags do is they allow you to tag your doors and windows and other objects too, as we'll see a little later on, directly in the annotations of your viewport, but they can still see and read the design layer object that you want to associate with them. So let's go ahead and turn that off, because it's not 2015 anymore. And so I'll go back to my plan annotation. So this is, again, I'm inside the annotations for a sheet layer. Here's my sheet layer. There we go. And I'm inside those annotations. And you can see that I have these data tags. They're here, back to that door. I'll, pick that one, for example, and zoom in on it, right? So there it is, and it's just floating free. I can just put it anywhere I want. It doesn't really care how far from the door it is. So the way I insert a data tag is that the data tags are going to live in my notes. And if you could please mute yourself, that'd be great. So that was going to be in the DIMS and notes palette, right? And I organize all of these alphabetically. You can do that from the widget down here, sort tools by ascending alphabetical, because I don't always know all of these tools, believe it or not. So here's data tags under D, easy to find. And you can see that when you've got your data tag tool activated, you have a variety of modes. You can have an unlinked tab where you're just labeling something with a data tag, kind of using it like a little note bubble, right? And because you can use them for notes, you can use them for a variety of things. And there's also this pull down menu here where you have all of the data tags in your current document are going to be shown here, which I only have 2. And if you go to your Vectorworks libraries and you don't know where to start, you can go to Object. You go to Vectorworks libraries and it'll automatically send you to Object Styles data tags. And there are all sorts of pre-built data tag styles for you: number stamps, spaces, walls, windows, you name it. Even a centerline data tag, a timestamp, and so forth. So you can do quite a lot with them other than just keying in doors and windows, certainly. So in this case, what I find is that, of course, the default graphics for the data tags that Vectorworks gives you they're pretty nice. Try to give you a variety of different options. They're not necessarily just exactly what I want. So you would just find the closest one that you like, import it into your document. And then in your own document, you can just go ahead and edit it. So here we're trying to select a data tag, so it's probably not going to let me edit one, right? And that's okay. But once I have a data tag inserted in the drawing, it can be styled or unstyled. And in this case, this is a styled one. So I'll just edit the style. And I can give it a name. I can decide whether or not it gets a leader and all of those leader characteristics. Here under display, I can select to align it to walls and objects. For example, if it's a data tag to call out wall styles, I would probably choose that. And I can allow them to be scaled symmetrically, asymmetrically, and so forth, which generally I don't. And then down here, there's a button for the edit data tag layout. And so here's where I was able to assign my default office style, which is a Calibri 8-point, and I can even assign a text style to that. And then I can play with the graphic of the key outline. I like circles. I like a 0.15 line weight, right? Make it the size that I want and so forth. So I'm just going to go ahead and delete this data tag for 8. Now the data tag reports the identity of the object that it's affiliated with. It, with the exception of being able to change the number of the door in this case, or window, or whatever, it doesn't. It isn't intimately linked with the object in the sense that if I delete the data tag, I'm not deleting the object. But if I delete the object, I will lose the data tag. Let's see. So I'm going to go ahead and click on my data tag tool. I'm going to pick door round data tag right here from my resource manager. And whenever I'm hovering over a door, it will highlight red and let me tag it with this data tag. So there we are. That's door number 8. Now the door has data assigned to it, and it was already numbered door number 8, and that's why it's displaying 8. Now if I click on my data tag data, I can renumber it at this position, right? So I'll just arbitrarily decide to make this door 23. And so now it's door 23. And if I go back to my schedule, and in fact, the door itself, it will also be numbered. If you're not on mute, please mute yourself. Thanks. So let's go back to the design layer. Here we go. I'll click on that same door, zoom in on it. And you can see as I scroll down to my object through my object info palette, it's been labeled as door number 23. So if I just go ahead and change that back to 8, and then I go back to my annotations, you'll see that the door has also been numbered 8. Now the data tag is really pretty darn smart. For example, if I choose a window tag, right? I'll choose that. It will not let me assign a window tag to the door. I don't know why it's not letting me assign it to the window. There it is. Oh, haha, I'm not in the annotations. Let's go to the annotations. There we go. So now if I try to insert a data tag, a window tag on a door, nothing happens. I mean, I can click if I want, but I get an error statement at the bottom. I don't know if you saw that. No eligible object is selected. But now when I'm hovering over a window, because it's a window tag, then it's going to go ahead and report the window, which in this case, this is window D. So I've labeled the same window twice, which of course is silly. I'm going to delete that, delete this, and then go ahead and relabel it. So that's the basic concept of data tags, is that data tags are generally, if they're reporting, if they are these linked single object select object mode, this mode over here, right? It's looking for an object that data tag by design, that type of data tag or that style of data tag is linked to, in this case, a window, and it will report windows. It won't report doors or light fixtures or plumbing fixtures or wall types or whatever. And there are ways to script data tags to selectively only report certain types of objects like windows and doors and whatnot. And I'll get into that at the very end. But for now, probably the easiest way to create new data tags is to import existing Vectorworks library data tags and then tweak the graphics to be what you like. So let me just pause for a second and just, if you have any questions, let me check the chat window and see. I'm not seeing any chat questions. So if anyone wants to unmute themselves and ask a question, or I can just keep going.
Francois, I will ask one question, Ms. Bill. So the data tag, is this now the primary way by which one connects the symbols objects to the schedules?
That's a great question, Bill. Let's see. No. In the sense, but not because you're off conceptually, really. What's really the case is that a door can be reported to a schedule without a data tag. So the data tag is it's a part. You're correct in a sense that a data tag is part of the whole scheduling schema, right? Because it's nice to have a door schedule, but if I don't have a graphic that tells me which door is what on the plan or the elevations or whatever, then I have no idea where those doors are. So in that sense, yes. However, you can schedule a door without a data tag or a window without a data tag. So they're not essential for scheduling, but they are a part of the whole kind of scheduling process. Does that make sense?
Well, I'm trying to figure out the purpose. So in other words, if I was looking at the schedule and it has the data tags in it, so now back to
Nope. The schedule does not report the data tag.
Oh, it does not.
No, the schedule reports the door and window themselves.
So so the data tag is only in the annotation space on the drawing, or what is it? Where does it reside other than the drawing?
Yeah. So the data tag, you can think of, diagrammatically, sort of the data resides in the door. That's where the data is. A schedule is one way of displaying that data, right? And a data tag is another way of displaying a limited set of that or subset of that data, which is the door ID.
Got it. Okay.
But the door itself, the data in the door itself is what's populating the schedule, and the data in the door itself is what's populating the data tag. So the data tag reports a fact about the door, just like the schedule reports many facts about the door, but it is not the door.
So when do you use the data? What is the purpose of using the data tag versus a schedule? Because it'll have more specific information about that particular door in that particular location.
Yeah, I use both, right? So let's go to the schedules. Here's a schedule right here. Let me close that. Here's my door schedule. Let me zoom out a little bit. There, maybe that's maybe zoom out a little too much. There we go. So there's my door schedule. There's door number 8, right? So I'm going to leave that schedule open. It's just floating here, and I'm going to go back to my annotations. So there's door number 8. Let me zoom in a little bit. See door number 8? Oh, sorry.
Yep.
See door number 8? Yep. Let's go to the schedule and let's change. Oh, come on. Because it's in the group. Okay. Vectorworks here. So let's change door number 8. I got room here at 20, right? Let's change door number 8 to, oh, it's not going to let me. That's weird. Normally it's bidirectional. Very odd. Only because it's a presentation, right? Then then it doesn't work the way you want it to.
Did you right click the whole row?
Yeah, no, that doesn't matter. It might have something to do with the way that I built the style. I don't think so. But okay, we'll do it this way. Let me double click into the annotations. Right, let's get door number 8 here. Now, one thing that I can do with the data tag is I can use the data tag itself to renumber the door. Right, so I can go ahead and change this to door 20 over here. And then when I recalculate the schedule, now it's door number 20 over here. Oh, you know what? Maybe my schedule hadn't been recalculated and that's why it was grayed out. So now I'll change it to 8 and it reorders, and you see it changes over here. So the door and the schedule and the data tag, they're all interlinked, right? I could renumber that door number 8 from the design layer by clicking on the door like I did earlier. I could renumber it door number 8 by using the data tag as a kind of a control panel to renumber the door, though I can't change anything else about it with the data tag. Or I could renumber the door over here in the schedule, right? I could also change the dimension of the door in the schedule. See how it's going to get smaller there? I could make it real big. right? So that's scheduling. Sort of schedules are bidirectional, and we've talked about that. But yeah, so the data tag all by itself without a schedule is not terribly useful, because it just tells me, oh, great, that's door number 8. Well, that doesn't tell me anything about door number 8. What kind of door is it, and so on and so forth. The data tag just reports it's just the door ID. Yep.
I think I got it. Thank you.
Yeah, you bet. And the advantage of using data tags versus kind of the old school 2D marker that is attached to a door or a window or whatever is that the data tag is in the annotations or on the sheet layer. And so as I'm dimensioning this tight little space and moving dimension strings around, I can just take that and move it over, or move it over here, or get it away from this detail bubble. Do whatever. So it's just a much nicer layout tool. And if I'm numbering things, right, then I can go ahead and renumber them directly here using the edit data tag ID here. Right, so I could renumber which I just demonstrated. I could make this door number 20. Right, boom.
You can
instead of having
you can number them in the sequence of the plan to make sense to where they are in the plan. You don't really care the sequence in the schedule, but you might need to find the plan. So yeah. Oh, that makes
because in the schedule it'll just renumber itself. Right. Yeah. And so if someone adds a door or removes a door, as is wont to happen in projects, then it's one way to quickly renumber these things. Make sense?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, you're very welcome. Yeah, and of course I'm not limited to 2D naturally, right? So here's the door in perspective. Right, I can, whoops, sorry, hit the wrong key. I can highlight that door and I can renumber it here. And if I do that, just like anything else, it will now be door number 20 on the plan, again, because the data tag is linked to the door. Now, let's go back and see how that really works. All right, if I edit my door style, or if I just, let's go to the settings for this door. Now, this is a styled door that I created. And so there are certain things about it that are editable, right? They have the little slider icon. And certain things about this door that is not editable, that has the little curvy arrow, the little alias icon. And that's because of how the style is designed. But you can see in the data tab of my door, I've got the manufacturer is Masonite and the model is Melrose. And that's because this door represents a Masonite Melrose door. And that is never going to change. I don't want someone to use this style to do a true style, a one panel door. That's a different style, right? So those things are not editable. But the accessories for the door, the hardware, that could vary depending on whether it's used as a pocket door or swing door or whatever. Likewise, the rough opening height and width and masonry opening and all those things, those are going to be a function of the geometry of the door itself. And then I have a notes field here where I can go ahead and add some individual notes on a door by door basis. But then the door material is always going to be a composite door, again, because that's the nature of a Melrose door. And it's always going to be painted because what else would I do with it, right? So, so the schedule is pulling all of that information from this object, right? So if we look at the door schedule, right, door number 8, pull at each door, that is clearly like a boilerplate note that just kind of got repeated on a bunch of doors. And so I can just go ahead and edit that right here at the schedule. There we go. Yep, but now that got renumbered as door number 20 as I was demonstrating it. So let's get it back up to door number 8. So there's door number 8, right? And so I've removed pull at each door from that note. Now, another cool thing about schedules is really super useful is that when you've got your schedule here that's reporting the data associated with the door, I can right click on this cell and there's a little select item that pops up. And that's super useful. You can see that behind the resource manager, the view has changed. Let's just go to a plan view. I'll deselect that door and we'll pretend like we have no idea where that door is. So I'll just go ahead and select item, and Vectorworks will select it and zoom in and highlight it for you. So there it is. So if you've ever got a schedule where you've done a bunch of automatic scheduling and you have, maybe you've got, I don't know, I've got one here. Here's one. They're kind of hard to grab, but to make these little alcoves, right? I just, there's one. You can see that's just a door in the wall to make the alcove for this bookcase. Yeah, there you are. That's already a wide perspective. All right, so there's a little alcove. It's just an opening in the wall so that I can insert this bookcase, right? That is an unstyled door. Actually, it got built as a styled door. No. But it is not included on the schedule, right? Because I don't want it to be scheduled. It's just an opening. If I inadvertently include it on the schedule and then I recalculate that, suddenly I've got this extra door that showed up. Who knows where it is? Oh, it's heck, I don't know where it is.
I think it's door 16.
Door 16. Yeah, there we go. So there's door 16. Thanks, Al. And so if I saw this weird door pop up on my schedule and I'm like, well, where is it? I can just go ahead and select it and it'll find it for me. And I'm like, oh, no. Don't include that on the schedule. And then we're good. But these data tags over here that I've been showing you in this file, are all intended to pick up the data from a plugin object, like in this case, a door, right? There's one more thing I want to say about that, which is they're not limited to plan view. So let me go ahead and go to my elevations. And I'll go ahead and update that one because, why not? Okay, so here's an elevation, right? And I can go ahead and let's go into the annotations. Don't actually have to, but it's kind of nice to. Well, I seem to have lost my palette. Well, that's a problem. There we go. So there's my data tag. I'm going to choose my window, right? And you can see that it is highlighting the window and it's reporting the window in elevation. It's not highlighting the door. It's highlighting the window. Let's go to my door. And there we go. There's door number 6. Now there's a door back here somewhere in the model. Door number 8, in fact, that's our trusty pocket door. It's actually, it's like, you know, beyond this wall. And so you got to be a little careful with data tags and elevations because they're kind of like Cyclops. They don't have any depth perception. They'll just pick up whatever they see. So there's a door behind this wall, so it's going to go ahead and report that door. There's a door on edge behind this wall. It's going to go ahead and report that door. There's a door, you know, there are multiple doors back here, deep behind the model. And so it is going to go ahead and report that. So you want to be very careful in your elevations that you are reporting with your data tag the window or door unit that you mean, and not one that is actually beyond. But they are cool that way for those of us who like to annotate doors and windows in elevations. All right, so I've shown you how sort of straight out of the box data tags will report the data that is attached to a plugin object like a door and window, but they're not limited to that. So before I go on, oh, there's a couple of chat questions or a couple of things in the chat. Let me see what people say. Oh, how do you get those alternating color lines in your schedules? Yeah, that is a little bit of a workaround. And what I do is I draw a rectangle like that, and I make it black and maybe 10 or 15% opaque. Here, I'll just select all these, delete them. So I'll just drag this one, and I can just do a reference point move, a distribute mode, right? I can just try to distribute them like so, right? But I might do 12 of them. So I'll go from here and distribute them like that. Right, that's always a bit of a guess. But so then I'll just move this one down. I'll just nudge it down so that it's over number 19. And then I'll do a crossing select. So I select just the rectangles, and then I'll use an align, distribute, and distribute their spacing. And, you know, it looks like I'm off by 1. Got too many. So I'll do it again. Yeah, still off by 1. So I'll delete 1. You know, if I'm too lazy to count, I got to do trial and error. So that's how I get those alternating lines, because you can't get them in the schedule itself. And Al is asking, how do user fields work? So that's a great question. So if I look at the settings, and I've just kind of glossed over this a minute ago, and if I look at the settings for this door, and I click on the data tag, there's user field 1 through 10. And those are just fields that you could just customize to be whatever you want, but you can't rename the field. It's always going to be user field 1, user field 2, user field 3. So it's going to require a bit of record keeping on your part to remember that user field 5 is I don't know where the door head, what sheet the door head detail is on. Actually, the head and jam detail are already baked into the, I just couldn't think of anything. But anyway, so these are just customizable fields that you can use for whatever you want. But you can't rename the name of the field, so you're going to have to remember or have like some sort of office standard that user field 1 is always blop cost. I don't know. Okay. Let me look, since Al just asked the last question. Let me go ahead and pop open Al's file. I don't need to save this. And let me open this up. And I'll need to screen share it. Okay, Al, do you want to say something about this project, and I'll do some driving?
Sure. Thanks, Francois.
Sure.
Francois and I have been talking about data tags, and he asked me if I had anything going that might be of interest to this group, and I thought this project might be. And I'll say to the group at large that if there's any value this presentation can offer the group, it's that someone, that is to say me, who doesn't find data tags and automated reporting to be part of their natural habitat, yet I'm able to do it and do it successfully, even at a rudimentary level. I'm hoping that will give confidence to others to jump in as well. And I find that this data tag and scheduling together are really powerful, very helpful. And this is just one instance. So this is a historic county courthouse in South Texas. It's the Willacy County Courthouse, built in the 1920s. And it really lends itself to a lot of the basic organizational features in Vectorworks, including stories and styles for windows and data tags. So all of that is kind of built into this model. So do you want to move forward, Francois? That's
sure. You want me to let's have a look at the plan annotations with your data tags.
Yes, and so a couple things to say about these data tags. These are drawn straight from the set, but there are some customizations. But you'll notice that under the style, and we like to style things, under the style, it's LGA, Limbacher Godfrey Architects window hex, not just a regular garden variety window hex. And that allows us to know that we're using our own rather than the out of the box. So that has been really helpful for us to stay organized in that way. And that allows us also, if we like, to use these tags from project to project. So that's probably all there is to say there. Let's go to edit tag layout. Is there anything to learn there?
Yeah.
Probably not. Yeah. So that's pretty straightforward stuff. And so
one thing is that I didn't mention is, and that is probably important in this case, is that when you edit the tag layout and you click on the text block, at the very bottom of your object info palette, there's a defined tag field and use dynamic text. So when you have use dynamic text, what that basically means is the text is going to change to report some data value of the object that the data tag is associated with. In this case, the window number right? If I don't have dynamic text, then every data tag will just show the same text, which defeats the purpose in this case, but useful for like a centerline data tag, right? So not all text in a data tag is dynamic, but once you make it dynamic, then if you click on this define tag field, right, you can see that what Al has done is he's made the data source a record format instead of what you will get if you poke under the hood of one of these out of the box window tags, the object parameters. So the tags that I've shown you so far today, instead the data source are the object parameters itself. That is to say, the parameters of the window. In this case, the key number, right? The ID. So that's really important that that this data tag is the reason we're showing you this today is that it's different from the ones that I just showed you, in that it's not reporting all of the data that is intrinsic to the window object itself as a function of being a Vectorworks window or a Vectorworks door. It's reporting record format information that Al has attached to a window.
That is correct, and that's an important point to make.
Yeah, and that's cool because it now opens up. It allows Al to be really flexible about what data he wants to show and so forth. So it's extra work, but more flexibility. Yep.
So let me also mention, and again, this is in the spirit of encouraging people who might feel balky about this to jump in. You see this little thing where it has hashtag window data, hashtag period, hashtag mark, hashtag. I actually adapted some other out of the box language to make this language and make it work. And I am not a computer programmer, but I was able to do this little rudimentary routine successfully. And there we go. And so I wonder if, and so what we like to do is add a record format to these items like windows and doors. And so
yeah.
I wonder if we could go to the record format, Francois, and
yep.
Okay.
So yeah, if I click on one of Al's windows here,
yeah,
right, you can see that it's a Vectorworks window, and in fact, it's styled. Right? Just like the ones that I showed you. But if you look over here in the data tag of the object info palette, you can see that it has a record format that's attached to it called window data. So I'm going to go to the resource manager and go over here to records right here in Al's file. There's the record format called window data. We'll edit that so that we can see it. And so yeah, there you go.
This is a record format that we created. We said what is the information we want to use and report, and further, this allows us to have all of it in one spot, and that will become helpful a little later when we look at the entire list of possibilities, when we look at the schedule itself. But this allows us to go to one part of that list and know that everything we're going to want to report is right there so we can easily find it. And a couple of other things too is I want to mention under number 3 material, you see where it says the word pop-up? I love the pop-up. And what the pop-up means is you can then, would you mind going to the word?
Yep.
Right.
Going
so go to pop-up right there. Just hit, there you go. And notice that we just create a list there. And we can add aluminum, we can add plastic, we can add fiberglass, anything we want to that list. And then when we're putting information in a particular window, instead of us having to type from scratch wood, steel, and the possibility that there will be a spelling error, or that we will forget that we're doing everything in all caps. This allows us to just choose from a list that's pre-edited, and then everything ends up being consistent and clean and reliable. So the pop-up is a really nice feature there. So again, this is a record format that we created, and the way you create a record format is you just go to the resource browser, and at the bottom left-hand corner it says new. You can see where it says at the very bottom, new record format. At the bottom of that, right there, just click on that, and you can create one. We don't have to create one now.
Or you can just right-click. You can right-click when you're in the record formats.
Yeah.
Pane here, you can just right-click and it'll say new record format. Or if you're showing all of your resources, right, you can create new resource in your file, and then you can choose which one. In this case, we'll say record format. And so it starts out blank. You start out with a number, with a name, and you just keep adding fields. You give it a default name, a text, and so on. And you just keep adding fields. And each field in the record format, you can think of it this way, as that a field in a record format corresponds to a column, a potential column anyway, in your door and window schedule, or material schedule, or plumbing schedule, or whatever kind of schedule.
Exactly so. And so again, the point at the moment is to say that we created that LGA data tag to pick up. And by the way, can you go over to the object info palette right there, blink right there, and there we go. And notice that everything in that record format is right there listed. And then would you mind going to material there, Francois, where it says wood? Just click the list and notice there's the pop-up list. And so you get a list. You can just choose something from your pre-edited list. Go to status if you would, please. Okay, I only have 2 things there, but we could add more things and be much more complicated. But again, if it's a pre-edited list, then the likelihood of getting something, making a mistake isn't so great. And then that's probably all there is to say about that at the moment.
Well, yeah, and one thing I will add though, Al, is that the advantage of doing, it's not like, you know, one way is right and the other way is wrong. They have different advantages and complications. So the advantage of doing it this way is that you're very flexible, right? You could, you know, Al, you were asking earlier about how do you use the user field 1 through 10 data for your window, right? We could go to your window and you go to settings,
right? And
you go to data, and you could use these user fields 1 through 10 for steel or wood, or, you know, status, existing to remain, or, you know, you could even have, you know, new glazing in existing sashes, whatever, you know, whatever you came up with. But then you'd have to remember all of that and which field goes with what, and you wouldn't get the pop-ups.
So the record format gives local control. That's to say, I'm in control, or our group is in control of how we report that, what the language of it all is, and also in my mind, there's an element of how easy is it to find in the grand list. So at some point, we may want to go to the schedule itself and
right here,
walk through how you get that grand list. So if you go, I think, to the very top where it says mark, maybe we can start there. Do you want to start there?
Oh, you want to see like how you build your record format?
Yeah. Just
how you build your schedule?
Yeah. And with the mark, this leads to a matter of setting criteria and limiting the criteria so that you get, and before you go there, I want to explain one thing here.
Sure.
You'll notice, I don't know why there's a 0.27 at the beginning. That's a window that I need to query and learn where that is, because that doesn't look right. But you'll notice that on everything else, everything starts with the number 1. And the reason is this is the first floor window schedule. And we just did a window schedule by floor. So when you build the record form, when you build the schedule and you're asking it, it's asking what do you want to show in this particular field, you want to make sure to limit it to the first floor, if that's what your intention is. So there it is. I don't know what that is. Is that
so what I did is I just turned off the clip cube, right?
Yeah.
And kind of panned back.
Yeah.
So I had a view of the whole model.
Yeah.
And then I went to the to your schedule.
Yes.
And right-clicked in the cell and selected the item.
Yeah.
And then I do a Command 6 to get me, basically fill the screen. And then I turn on the clip cube because it's like somewhere else. So there it is. There's the window. And I can just go to the data. And here it's.
I might need to make it 1.27, perhaps. I don't really recall.
But, yeah, and it's on layer 1. So there you go. So we can just fix it right there. So
yeah,
using the clip cube and the select item, it's like really, really nice.
Right. And you can go ahead and select it right now. Yeah, there you go. And recalculate.
Yep.
There you go. And there it is.
Now there's 2 of them. So now we need to renumber all these, but we can do that.
So there's something a little funny, but it's a great organizing device, and you can easily find these little glitches and get rid of them, and off you go. So I think that one thing I was wondering if we could go, Francois, and look at the schedule and see just a little bit, dip our toes into the question of how you build the criteria. So maybe go to.
Yeah, can I jump into that real quick?
Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah. So one way you could do it is you can just add a database row, and we'll go ahead view, and the database headers are showing and they don't print. And there's a syntax here, right? Equals window data dot mark equals window data dot type material status, so forth. So that's one way of doing it. You could just, if you know what the syntax is for all of these fields, you can do that. Another way of doing it is just to go to your tools, and under reports, you could create a report, or you could, that's it. So we'll create a report, and we'll go ahead and call this untitled sheet. And under the basic criteria, it'll just be objects with a record, and then here are all the record formats that are in the file. Now, some of these record formats, Vectorworks builds, at the North Pole, the Vectorworks elves make these record formats, and they stick them onto objects. But here is Alan and Lori's window data record right here. So
correct.
Window data, boom. And so, and I'll include it to symbols, all of these things. And these are all of the fields that exist in this record format, and I can add them selectively. That you created, right? I could add them selectively, or I can add them all. Once I add them all, I can even change the order, right? So Mark here comes in as number D, but I want it as number 1. So I can just, when I get this little sheet icon there, I can just go ahead and change the order of these to be in any order that I want. And I could summarize the same items with the same mark, for example, if that's how the style of schedule that I wanted, and hit OK. and there it is, right?
So a
And
couple other things to say about that is, first off, if you could go back to that selection pane, Francois.
the creator report.
Yeah, but just that. Yeah. Okay. So a couple of things to say is, one thing if you're doing this, you need to be careful of is, see where it says design layer viewports non-referenced. You want to unclick that, and design layer viewports reference, you want to unclick that. Otherwise, it'll select everything in those viewports, and Lord only knows how many windows that will account for. So you really need to be
you might
careful
want
that
them
way.
though. I mean, it just depends, right? On some projects you will want them, and on other projects it just depends on how you have it set up.
True enough. And maybe I'm just spouting the basic dogma that's in the tutorials, but it's helpful to know to look for that and to knowingly either
Sure.
click them or not click them. And then if you wouldn't mind, just click the button that says advanced criteria and edit criteria. So here's a place where you can add additional criteria. So for instance, we wanted to do a schedule that only had the windows on the first floor. So you want to limit it to one wall. So only choose windows that you see on that particular layer. And further, there were windows in a particular class that was important to us. Class, and I can't remember what the class was, probably some sort of window class, just window historic main.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
we
Right.
want it to be that is not in the
window opening, right? And Francois and I are going to talk about that in just a second, but this is a way you can really dial in exactly what you want to appear in that column. And if it takes a little bit of fiddling, but it's very, very powerful. Notice that there are 1,081 objects that meet this criteria so far. So we may not quite have the criteria limited enough yet, but
no, but that's okay, because it's by default it's only showing the objects that have the record format attached to them. So not all 1,000 of these objects have the record format.
So that's not all those objects are going to be reported. Yeah. So
yeah.
Anyway, that's the basic kind of organization of the tasks that in terms of where do you need to go to figure out how to get these reports to do what you want them to do. Those are the basic places.
Yeah, and let's say that you did what I did, and you didn't filter out all the windows that were just on a given floor, for example. So, one of the ways that Al built this file is because it's a historic building and it's got kind of a complicated structure. What he did was he's got these walls, and then in these walls he's created these openings, right? Here's an opening, there's an opening. And so he's got all these openings that he's then infilled with extrusions or walls or whatever they are, right?
Correct.
And spandrels and so forth. And those don't have a record format attached to them. But if they inadvertently did, you obviously don't want to schedule those openings. You just want to schedule these windows that are sort of placed in those openings, right? And those have the record format attached. And so when I showed you how to create a schedule from the create report feature, I forgot to filter some stuff out. So all of the things that Al just said about how you can filter criteria when you create the report, if you forget to create some, or you think you filtered it, but it's not, you missed something important, it's okay. You can go back and you can right click on this cell number 2 here. Let me zoom in a little bit, even though it's, right, you can right click over here and you can edit or set criteria. So I can go ahead and under record format,
Bill,
do more choices,
I'm in
filter out.
a Zoom
Hey,
class.
Bill, can you filter yourself? I mean, mute yourself. Thanks. So layer is one walls,
right?
right? And now it's starting to hone those down. We can
And
go
then the
ahead.
other one really is more choices, do one more choices. Class is not
Opening.
opening, right?
Yeah.
So we made sure to class, all those openings are in the window dash opening class, mostly for the purpose of being able to exclude it from the symbol, from the
Yep.
schedule.
And then of course I can go ahead and sort these by ascending. And so now it lists them 1 to 36.
If you can just also stay right there, Francois, don't move.
Sure. Yep.
No, you moved. Don't move. Go back to what I'm trying to do is get that really long string of code in the window above.
This one here?
What did you do to have that string? There was a really long one.
Oh, I don't know.
I don't know what you did. It's different now.
Yeah, I just went ahead and did ascending.
Yeah, I don't know what. Well, I can't comment on it because it's not there. But
okay, what was the code?
Well, it was just this really long string of code, and I wanted, and it looks like it's just really complicated. But once I understood the logic of it, I was able to manipulate it reasonably reliably. And again, I'm not a coding person, but it's not so darn complicated that I couldn't do it. And it's too bad we can't find it. I mean, it was really a long list of criteria, and all the limiting criteria was all in that line after the word, after the equal sign. I don't know where we got that. But anyway, probably we need to forget.
Well, we'll just have to make up some popcorn and watch the movie.
Watch the movie later, yeah. And so I think you showed the opening and then we inserted the window into the opening.
Yep.
And and all windows again are by style, and I believe they're even inserted based on stories, which if I'm not mistaken, we use stories to try and organize as much as we could.
Yep. Great. Thanks for sharing this file, Al.
Thanks for the opportunity.
Sure. I'm going to show just a couple more things, sort of riffing on some of the things that you're working on with this file, on a couple of other object types that don't seem to lend themselves to automatic scheduling, but with record formats and data tags, you can actually sort of make that work. So I'm going to close this and not save it. And got about another few minutes. Let me share this. Okay, so recently we were doing a project that had a glulam window wall system. And so the way we modeled it was using the curtain wall tool. So one of the issues that there is with the curtain wall tool is it's really great for modeling curtain walls, which this is, right? It's just a timber curtain wall instead of an aluminum one. But the question is always, okay, well, do I really want to use the window wall tool because I want a window schedule, and how do I integrate my curtain wall with my window schedule? Like, do I need a separate schedule? Do I just make it by hand or whatever? So in this case, if I go to the data tag on this curtain wall, you can see that we created kind of like what Al did for his historic windows, is that we created a curtain wall record. So let's edit that. I didn't use pop-ups, which, you know, I'm going to start looking for ways to use pop-ups. So here I've got a width and a height, a head height, and a type, and that's just so that it can integrate with my window schedule. So I've created all these fields. I've got quantity, I've got default values, right? And so I've attached that record format right here to this curtain wall and to that curtain wall. And so those will now appear in my schedule. Now, to be perfectly honest, one thing I have to do is I have to manually, it doesn't calculate the width and the height, right? So I have to tell it what height and width to make this unit. But you can see that there is a data tag. Let's go to plan view. There's a data tag here. And if I go ahead and pull up my data tags, it's doing that thing again. There we go. Where I pull up a data tag, you can see that in my available data tags, I've created a window wall data tag. It looks just like my window sketch, my regular window data tag. I could have a different graphic. And so I'll choose that one. There we go. Come on. Thank you. And so you can see that this window wall is highlighting, and it's allowing me to go ahead and tag it with the data tag. So similar to Al's project, this is an instance where the data tag is pulling from not the object itself, but from the record format that's attached to the object. And if I click on that data tag and I edit the style, right? If I edit the tag layout and click on the text here, you can see, like I was showing you earlier, it says use dynamic text. And if I define the data tag field, I told it, instead of pulling from the object parameters, go to the record format. I told it which record format to pull from. There's only 2 in this file, and it's pulling from that one. And which field name. So once it sees the record format, it's going to go ahead and show the fields that are in that record format, and only those fields. And so I'll show which one it's supposed to report, right? And there we go. And so now that I've done that, that window tag will, or that data tag will report the record format that's associated with this curtain wall object. And I can still mix and match, right? If I look at if I try to do a data tag and tag the door, here I've got this is a door in the curtain wall. It's a curtain wall door, in fact. So it automatically resizes itself to fit in the module of the curtain wall. And that data tag, if I edit its data, if I edit its style and edit the layout, that one you see is actually pulling from the object parameters of the door. So I just choose what I want here. I choose which specific fields I want to go ahead and pull from. And then it composes the appropriate syntax up here. And there we go. Oh, there's a question. Oh, okay. There was a thank you, Al. All right. So there we go. So you can use your data tags combined with record formats in order to even include curtain walls and curtain wall doors on your door and window schedules, respectively. And we have a couple more minutes, so there's just one more file that I'd like to show you. It sort of takes that idea and expands it to lighting. All right, so here's created in this file, we have a lighting record, a light fixture record. Let's edit that and see what's going on. Pretty simple, you know, not too complicated. 8 fields or so, about what you'd expect. Could certainly get more complicated. And in old versions of this symbol, what we would do is, or of this record format, is that built into the lighting symbol, there we go, built into the 2D component, there would be essentially a version of the data tag, only it was just a piece of text and some geometry, right? And then you would select the text, and under modify, you would link text to record. So link text to record only works, this command only works on a single text block. It only works on a single text block that's in a symbol. It's a very specialized command. And there you can link that text to display the value that's in a field of any record format that you choose. In this case, there's only one record format in this file. And so here it goes ahead and reports the key. So I'll edit the symbol. And so under the data tab, not data tag, but the data tab of the object info palette, you can see that I'm calling this T4. It's a recessed troffer. It's by Alcon, blah, 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 right? So it's got all that information so that it would show up appropriately in my schedule. The disadvantage of doing this sort of old school methodology for displaying this is that because the ID bubble is a part of the symbol, I have no choice about where I put it. It's always going to be in the middle of the symbol or off to the left of the symbol or whatever, right? Here, I've created a data tag that essentially does the same thing as that link text to record, only it's a more modern application. It's a lighting data tag. Notice that it graphically looks about the same as my old school sort of part of the 2D symbol. If I edit the data tag, I can give it a number. Oh, sorry. If I go to edit the style, edit the layout, click on that, you can see, again, it's using dynamic text. It defines, I can define the data tag field. It's looking for, in the record format, light fixture record key, and that's what it's going to report. So now I can go to all my old symbols and I can get rid of all these bubbles. And instead, I can just go to my data tag. Where are you? There you go. Choose lighting data tag, and boom, there you go. It's reporting T4. And I can move it anywhere I like so that when I have a crazy complicated RCP and everything's in the way, I can do anything I want. Place it anywhere I want. And in fact, this little object isn't even a symbol, right? Whereas with link text to record, it only worked inside a symbol. This isn't even a symbol. This is, believe it or not, a wall style. So I created a wall style that graphically shows up in 2D as a dashed line, and that's an inch wide and an inch tall to represent just an LED strip light. And so there's a length of wall, right? It's 4 feet long. And I've attached this record format to the wall. And then the data tag is reporting the key or the mark or the ID, whatever you want to call it, S3. And there you go. So record formats and data tags, I guess the moral of this story is are incredibly flexible, and you can even do weird unorthodox things like make light fixtures out of walls, which no doubt will be very irritating to some purists out there. So anyway, so we got about 10 minutes or so. If there's any questions, anybody wants to go back and show something again, or something I glossed over or missed, please let me know. Any questions from anyone? There have to be questions. No? All right, well, that's it for me.